The story begins with Atami, who is searching for gold. After digging for a while, he finds a small gold nugget. Overjoyed, he looks up at the sky and shouts in happiness. Along with his horse and his loyal dog, he continues digging, hoping to find more gold. Suddenly, German Air Force planes fly overhead, but Atami ignores them and keeps digging. Days pass, and finally, he discovers a massive vein of gold. He can't believe his luck and falls to the ground, laughing with joy. Gathering all the gold, Atami mounts his horse and starts his journey toward the city to sell it. His loyal dog follows close behind. But on the way, Nazi soldiers arrive in trucks and medical vehicles. In one of the trucks, behind a curtain, Nazi officer Wolf is tormenting captive local women. That's when he notices Atami riding by with sacks full of gold. Driven by greed, Wolf climbs onto a tank to get a better look. And now, the real villain of the story appears. Bruno, the stylish Nazi commander wearing a leather jacket, sitting atop the tank. Wolf suggests greeting Atami with a bullet to his head, but Bruno stops him, as if he already senses that killing this man too early would end their story right there. Atami's path leads him past poles where local people have been hanged. A little further, he encounters another squad of German soldiers. They are surprised to see a lone old man wandering in such a place. But blinded by greed, they set their eyes on his gold, a mistake that seals their fate. Atami strikes back instantly. He kills the first Nazi soldier as if smashing a hollow pumpkin. He slaughters the Nazis one after another, his hands drenched in blood, only using a gun when there's absolutely no other choice. Hearing the gunshots, Bruno turns his tank around and arrives at the scene, where he finds a pile of Nazi corpses. He notices a small piece of gold lying near a wounded soldier, picks it up, and instantly realizes the true reason behind the massacre: gold. Bruno and his men start pursuing Atami. As a warning, the Nazis open fire, but Atami immediately starts running. Unfortunately, his horse steps on a landmine, triggering an explosion. Dazed for a moment, Atami realizes his horse can't survive. He quickly starts gathering the scattered gold. Meanwhile, through the fog, Nazi trucks and tanks begin closing in. Wolf tries to shoot, but Bruno stops him again. Clever as ever, Atami throws a rock at another landmine nearby, setting it off. The explosion creates a thick smoke screen, and he uses it to escape unseen. Bruno orders one of his men to search through the smoke and find the body. The soldier carefully moves forward, avoiding mines, but Atami suddenly lifts a mine and throws it right at him. The explosion kills him instantly. Bruno then sends 2 more Nazis around the side, but that path too is filled with mines. A little ahead, Bruno finds a strange token near Atami's dead horse. The Nazis continue advancing, forcing the captive women to walk ahead of them as shields. Inside the tank, Wolf talks to his general via radio. The general orders him to abandon everything and head straight to Norway, repeating twice that this is no ordinary old man. He is a legendary Finnish commando, the same one who struck fear into the hearts of Soviet soldiers during the Winter War. Despite direct orders, Bruno insists on continuing the chase. He tells Wolf that Nazi Germany is losing the war, meaning most of them will either die now or be executed later as war criminals. But if they can capture Atami's gold, they might escape and live freely somewhere far away. Meanwhile, the injured Atami hides behind a burned-out truck and tends to his wounds by himself. His loyal dog follows from a distance. Exhausted, Atami stops to rest, and by then, the Nazi soldiers are already very close. But they make a mistake. They overlook the only good hiding spot nearby, the truck itself. While the Nazi patrol and their dogs are searching around, Atami quietly rolls underneath the moving truck and clings to its underside to escape. He pierces the tank's fuel line so the Nazi dogs can't track his scent, but that doesn't last long. The entire Nazi convoy halts. Seizing the chance, Atami runs. The Nazis spot him, and Bruno orders the release of the hounds. Atami strikes a match and sets the gasoline spilled on his clothes ablaze, diving into a nearby lake amid a hail of bullets. He hides underwater. The Nazis wait by the shore, expecting the old man to surface, but Atami vanishes beneath the water. Bruno then orders his men to go into the lake and find the gold. Without thinking, the soldiers jump in, clothes and all. The first soldier meets Atami below the surface, who slits his throat underwater. Blood rises to the surface, and Bruno sends in another, with the same result. There are 3 Nazis left in a boat. The last soldier panics and tries to escape into it, but Wolf shoots him dead. The boat, however, slowly drifts to the other side of the lake. In reality, Atami was pulling it with a rope. He uses the corpse of a dead Nazi as a shield, dodging heavy tank fire as he escapes. Meanwhile, the Nazis left on the shore can only stare helplessly as their golden prize slips away from their hands. He escapes. Just then, Atami's loyal dog comes running toward him. Seeing the dog gives Bruno an idea. While running, Atami passes through a battlefield where burned vehicles are still smoking. He then reaches the ruins of a town that the Nazis had already burned to ashes. At night, the exhausted old Atami hides inside a broken-down petrol station building and tries to sleep. But suddenly, his dog's barking wakes him up. Outside stands his beloved dog. Atami smiles with relief, but then he notices something horrifying. The Nazis have tied a grenade to the dog's body. Atami quickly tries to untie and throw it away, but the explosion throws him off the ground, leaving him unconscious. The Nazis capture Atami and hang him by the neck. He struggles to fight back, but soon goes limp. Believing he's dead, the Nazis leave him hanging. Bruno doesn't even bother to look. He just picks up the gold and walks away. The rest of the soldiers follow him. Once everyone leaves, Atami gathers his last bit of strength and tries to grab something nearby while hanging from the rope. A sharp metal rod pierces through his body. The next morning, his loyal dog sits below the hanging body, crying helplessly. But Atami silently tries to save his breath and preserve what little strength he has left. Then, a plane flies overhead. The gust of wind shakes the rope, and Atami falls to the ground. 2 German pilots, searching for fuel, arrive at the burned petrol station and find him. But Atami realizes these are the same Nazis who hurt his dog. Without hesitation, he kicks the first pilot unconscious and knocks the second one down with a hard blow to the head. Afterward, Atami sits silently in thought until he notices a small aircraft nearby. He uses basic tools to stitch and bandage his wounds, preparing himself for what's next. He waits patiently for the pilot to regain consciousness. Meanwhile, his dog happily eats from a bowl. Elsewhere, Bruno's Nazi unit discovers a crashed plane with a dead pilot. But the man hadn't died in the crash, he had been hanged. Wolf recognizes the rope. It's the same one they used to hang Atami earlier. Bruno now suspects Atami is still alive and nearby. He orders his troops to leave the plane and move ahead. Inside the truck, the captive women overhear the Nazis talking and smile. One of them says, "If you take everything away from the stubborn soul of Finland, he'll return to claim vengeance, and he won't stop until every one of his enemies is dead." As soon as she finishes her sentence, one of the guards suddenly collapses, dead. Another looks outside and gets crushed under the tracks of a tank. And then, Atami climbs onto the truck. He hands a German machine gun to one of the captive women, encouraging her to fight alongside him. Leaning over the truck's roof, he repeatedly stabs toward the driver. His aim isn't as sharp as before due to his age, but on the third strike, he drives the blade right through the driver's head. Throwing the corpse out, Atami tells the woman to take the wheel. He instructs her to slow down so they can close in on the enemy trucks. Then, Atami leaps onto the tank moving ahead. Meanwhile, the truck full of women comes side by side with the one carrying Nazi soldiers. As the cover lifts, the captive women suddenly open fire with machine guns, killing the Nazis who once tormented them. Atami, on the other hand, is busy breaking open the tank's hatch, hoping to reclaim his stolen gold. But Bruno cleverly orders the tank to make a sudden stop. The jolt throws Atami off balance, and Wolf takes the opportunity to shoot at him. But Atami isn't just any man. Climbing up the armored tank, he drags a Nazi soldier out and starts a brutal hand-to-hand fight on top of the tank. The two brawl fiercely, punching each other until they both fall to the ground. Seeing this, Bruno orders the tank driver to speed up. Atami is about to finish off Wolf when suddenly a motorcycle arrives carrying 2 more Nazis. Atami realizes he needs the vehicle, not their lives. He gestures for them to leave. Understanding the situation, they abandon the motorcycle and flee for their lives. Leaving the half-dead Wolf behind, Atami rides the motorcycle and chases after the tank. Meanwhile, One of the German soldiers turns around and is stunned to see the same women who were his captives just hours ago. Bruno drives the tank all the way to an airfield, where a plane is already waiting. He shoots his last remaining mechanic driver and climbs aboard the aircraft with the pilot, preparing to flee. The plane races down the runway. Just then, Tommy appears from the front on his motorcycle, firing a machine gun at the plane. Bullets tear through the air, but the heavy aircraft manages to take off. Tommy jumps and grabs onto the bottom of the plane, clinging tightly. The pilot looks down and only sees the empty motorcycle, unaware that Tommy is hanging below the aircraft. The strong wind pressure almost tears him off, but using sheer willpower and luck, he grabs the landing gear. He pierces through the underside of the plane with his weapon. Hearing the noise, Bruno steps out with his gun drawn, but Tommy attacks him suddenly. Thus begins the final battle between Bruno and Tommy. The two fight ferociously. For a while, it seems Bruno is winning. He beats the old man brutally, punching and whipping him with a metal-hooked belt. But even after being beaten badly, Tommy slowly stands up again. Bruno goes in for another blow, but Tommy grabs the belt and hooks it to a bomb inside the plane. He immediately pulls the lever. Bruno falls below and meets his death in a spectacular explosion. Meanwhile, the plane begins to lose control. The pilot is already dead, and the aircraft tilts downward as one of the engines fails. Tommy has only one mission left. He searches the plane and finally finds his gold. He straps himself tightly to a seat. Moments later, the aircraft crashes violently into the ground. After some time, in a miraculous turn of events, Tommy emerges alive from the wreck, carrying a chest full of gold, walking out of the swamp. And thus, the story ends, with an electrifying and thrilling conclusion. And it's truly satisfying. Tommy, with his bravery and cleverness, outsmarts the Nazis and secures the gold treasure. With his loyal dog and the trophy motorcycle, he reaches the capital. At the bank, he exchanges the gold pieces for cash and finally receives the reward for his hard work. The story shows us that with courage, patience, and intelligence, any challenge can be overcome. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss more thrilling movie recaps. And in the comments below, tell us, which was your favorite scene?